The Return. I don't remember the last time I was in this house. Maybe when I was a child, my mother left me with Aunt Elena for a few days while she was in the hospital. The memories are faint, like water-blurred photographs, a braided rug in the living room, the scent of lavender, and something bitter in the air like smoke without fire. Aunt Elena died 2 months ago. They found her on the bedroom floor. Heart failure, the doctors said. A lawyer handed me the keys and a small note. Just 2 lines. Don't look in the mirror at night. And don't trust your memories. I read it 3 times. No signature. But I recognized the handwriting. Slanted and shaky like her hand trembled. That same Olena, strict, silent, who once made dumplings with me, then fell dead silent when I asked about the man in the dark room. The house greeted me with stillness. No creaking wood, no breeze, not even crickets outside the window. Just me, dust floating in the shafts of sunlight, and the sense that something was watching. I didn't believe in ghosts. Honestly. I am a psychology student, 22 years old. I've studied grief responses, false memory syndrome, hypnagogic hallucinations. But what happened next? Words can't explain it. I wandered through the rooms, fingers trailing along old furniture. Everything was still in place. Photo frames, a kettle on the stove, even a folded newspaper in the hallway. It felt like she had just stepped out for groceries and would be back any minute. Only the spiderwebs in the corners gave away how long it had been. Then I entered her bedroom and saw the mirror. It stood tall, framed in dark carved wood blackened with age. A crack ran across the upper right corner of the glass, as if something had struck it from the inside. And worst of all, when I looked at myself, for a split second my reflection lagged behind. Just a fraction of a delay. Barely noticeable, but enough to make my heart seize up. I said out loud, "Stop imagining things, Alina." Yes, that's my name. Alina. And I don't believe in ghosts. But that night, lying in that ancient bed, something changed. It started with a sound. A soft scraping, too low for mice, too deliberate for shifting wood. It came from the mirror. I couldn't see it. My back was to it. But I felt it. The mirror pulsed in the dark like it had a heartbeat. A cold light, not on its surface but within the glass. Like it was alive. And then, a breath. Not mine. Slow. Raspy. Too close. I turned, sharp and sudden. My heart slammed against my ribs. I saw myself in the mirror. But not quite myself. The reflection was smiling. And I wasn't. Chapter 2, 3:03 a.m. The first time I woke up at 3:03 a.m., I didn't think much of it. I assumed it was my body adjusting to the unfamiliar creaks and silence of the house. Old places make strange noises, wind squeezing through cracks, floorboards shifting. I'd studied this kind of thing, environmental triggers and sleep fragmentation. Harmless. But when it happened again the next night, and then again at exactly 3:03 a.m., I started counting. 3 nights in a row. 3:03, glowing cold blue on my phone screen. Each time I was pulled from sleep by something I couldn't explain. Not a dream. Not a sound. More like the feeling that I wasn't alone in the room. On the 4th night, I stayed up, just to prove to myself that nothing was wrong. I made tea around midnight, turned on a documentary to keep my mind distracted. It worked for a while. But as the minutes crawled toward 3:00 a.m., the temperature in the room started to drop. I didn't imagine that. I saw my breath. No open windows. No air conditioning. Just cold, sudden, sharp, like stepping into a freezer. At 3:03, the lights flickered and went out. All at once. Silence fell like a sheet over the room. Then footsteps. Above me. Slow. Deliberate. Creak! 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 Someone or something was walking on the attic floor. But I hadn't been up there yet. I wasn't even sure the attic had a proper entrance. There was just a narrow hatch in the hallway ceiling with a metal ring, half hidden in dust. The steps stopped. I couldn't breathe. My chest felt like it had been cinched tight by a rope. Every cell in my body screamed, "Don't move!" like prey sensing a predator nearby. Then a sound like fingernails across wood, scraping along the ceiling beams. A whisper, though no words came. Just breath, like something crouched low, just above my head. And then silence again. I waited until 3:10, then 3:20. Finally, I moved. I reached for the flashlight I had left on the nightstand and crept into the hallway. My bare feet were numb on the floorboards. The metal attic ring stared at me like an unblinking eye. I reached up and pulled it. The hatch groaned open. The ladder slid down, old and stiff, covered in cobwebs. I climbed slowly, one rung at a time, the flashlight trembling in my hand. The attic was empty. Mostly. There were boxes, old suitcases, a broken rocking horse. Everything cloaked in dust and silence. But there was something else. A circle drawn on the attic floor. Faint lines made of salt or maybe chalk. Not perfectly round, but purposeful. Old but disturbed, as if someone had stepped in it recently. Or crawled. In the center of the circle lay a small porcelain doll. Its face was cracked. Its mouth was painted into a smile. And on the wall above it, drawn in something dark, almost brown, were the numbers. 303. I dropped the flashlight. It clattered to the floor and the beam spun wildly, lighting up corners I didn't want to see. For a second, I thought I saw movement, a shadow darting just beyond the light. I didn't scream. I don't know why. Maybe because part of me still believed this was all some stress-induced hallucination. Or maybe because I already knew no one would hear me. I backed down the ladder without looking up, closed the hatch, locked my bedroom door. Didn't sleep. The next morning I tried to call someone. My mom. A friend. Anyone. No signal. Then I checked the landline in the kitchen. Dead. And when I walked past the hallway mirror just briefly, I saw my reflection pause again. Just a second too long. Just enough to terrify. She looked amused. I grabbed a can of paint from the shed and covered the bedroom mirror. Not because I am scared, just as a precaution. But that night, 303 came again. No sounds this time. No footsteps. Just a single knock on the attic hatch. 1. And the faint sound of something dragging its fingers along the walls above. Chapter 3. Letters from the Past. The attic hatch hasn't opened again. Not physically. But I still hear it sometimes. At night. A soft creak, like something testing the lock from the other side. Waiting. I haven't gone back up. Instead, I have started digging. Not literally not yet, but through drawers, closets, trunks. The house is full of hidden things. It's like Olena lived a life made of locked compartments and faded paper. I found them in the basement. Behind the old laundry sink, inside a wooden crate sealed with black wax. Letters. Dozens. Maybe hundreds. They were bound in ribbon, some handwritten in careful cursive, others with frantic slashes across the paper. Most were addressed to no one. A few were addressed to me. But they were dated years before I was even born. The first one I read was written on yellowed parchment, fragile to the touch. No greeting. Just a single sentence in shaky ink. It follows the women in our family. I froze. I read another. This one longer. Every night the mirror wakes. It watches. At first it was just me. But now it tries to speak through the glass. It mimics me. Smiles when I'm not smiling. I know it wants out. Then another from a later year. Alina. If you find these, it means I failed. The salt ring didn't hold. I think it crossed over. It uses faces. It pretends to be us. If you see it, don't talk to it. Don't believe it. And whatever you do, do not agree to anything it offers. She signed that one. Olena. My throat felt dry, like my body was rejecting the reality in front of me. Psychology couldn't explain this. Grief didn't hallucinate in handwriting. I kept reading. Dozens of entries. They told a story of fragmented, terrifying narrative. She believed something lived in the mirror. Something that had followed our bloodline for generations. That it could cross over, but only if invited. It started with whispers. Then dreams. Then reflections doing things you didn't. Some letters described rituals, protection circles, incantations, even blood sigils. A few pages were covered in symbols I didn't recognize, but just looking at them made my eyes water. Then a different letter, folded carefully, newer paper, tucked in a plain white envelope. My name was on the front. Alina in the same handwriting, but smoother, steadier, clearer. I opened it with trembling fingers. I'm sorry I didn't tell you sooner. You needed to grow first. The thing in the mirror, she's clever. She feeds on fear and memory. I tried to trap her, but she adapts. I think she already touched you when you were a child. I dropped the letter. I suddenly remembered something. A moment so small I'd forgotten it for years. I was 5. It was night. I had wandered down the hallway of this house, half asleep. I'd looked into the tall mirror by the coat rack, and I'd seen myself waving at me. Even though I wasn't waving, I told my mom the next morning. She laughed, said I probably dreamt it. But I hadn't. Now I'm sure I hadn't. That night, I lit a circle of candles in my room and placed salt at the corners. Just in case. I didn't believe in this kind of thing, not truly, but my rational mind was no longer in charge. At 3:03, I sat with my back to the mirror, hands shaking. Nothing happened. Until I blinked and the candlelight dimmed. I turned. The mirror, painted over and covered with a sheet, was humming. A low vibration, like a frequency just below hearing. And I felt it again, that presence. She was there. I didn't move. Didn't speak. But I heard her. A voice. So quiet it might have been thought. You read her letters. I didn't answer. She lied to you. Still, I said nothing. She wanted to trap you here. But I can free you. And that's when I made my first mistake. I turned, only for a second. But the sheet had fallen, and she was there in the mirror. Not me. Not quite. Her eyes were mine, but too wide. Her smile too sharp. Her head tilted, curious, like a predator watching prey hesitate. I backed away. My foot struck the salt line, scattering it. The candles flickered violently. Her smile widened, and the mirror cracked. A hairline fracture raced through the surface, just like the one I'd noticed the first day. She whispered one final sentence, clear and direct, as if speaking into my skull. You will come back. You always do. Chapter 4. Light Won't Save You. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in the hallway until dawn, clutching a rusted fireplace poker in both hands like some kind of fool who believed metal could protect her from something that lived in mirrors. When the sun rose, I almost laughed. The warmth spilling through the windows made everything feel normal again, almost. But I wasn't stupid anymore. Something was here. With me. Inside this house. And I didn't know how long I had left before it broke through. That morning, I decided to bring in more light. I went through every room, turning on every lamp, every overhead fixture. I opened the curtains wide. In the attic, I ripped away the dusty sheets covering old furniture to let the sun touch every shadow. Light is protection. That's what stories always say, right? I was wrong. That evening, around 6 p.m., the lights began to die. Not all at once. Just one by one. First, the lamp in the living room. Then the hallway chandelier buzzed out with a soft pop. I replaced the bulbs. Checked the breaker. Everything seemed fine. But they kept dying. By 9 o'clock, I was sitting in the kitchen under the flickering light of a single candle. The power had officially gone. No warning. No storm. Just gone. The house groaned around me, settling into a deeper kind of silence. Heavier. And then the mirror in the hallway began to pulse. Yes, pulse. It's hard to describe unless you've seen it. It didn't glow. It throbbed. Like something behind it was breathing. As if the glass were only skin stretched over something alive. And then the whispering began again. Low at first. Like static. Then rising into voices I recognized. My mother. My childhood friend. Even my own voice, laughing, screaming, crying. Come back to us. You left me there. I remember what you did. Each voice carried weight, guilt, and something worse, intimacy. They knew me. The mirror, she knew me. I backed away, holding my candle like it was a sword. I thought maybe if I kept the flame burning, she couldn't reach me. But then the candle went out. No wind, no movement. Just darkness. Total. And in the silence that followed, I heard a footstep. Not mine. It came from behind me. I turned fast, heart pounding, vision adjusting to the dark. No one there. But the mirror, somehow it had moved. It wasn't hanging on the wall anymore. It was leaning in this hallway at an angle, like someone had carried it there, like it was watching. I tried to scream, but no sound came. My throat closed. My limbs locked. I was frozen not by fear, but by something colder. Her. She was standing just beneath the glass, where shadows pooled unnaturally. She looked like me, but her head tilted the wrong way, unnaturally far to the left, like her neck had no bones. Her eyes gleamed, but not with light. With something ancient. Something hollow. And then she opened her mouth. And all the lights in the house exploded. Every single bulb. The darkness howled. I ran. Blinded, stumbling, I fell down the stairs, scraping my arms and knees, crawling to the front door. I reached for the handle. Locked. I tried the windows. Nailed shut. She didn't want me to leave. And worst of all, I heard something breathing just inches from my ear. I turned again. She wasn't in the mirror anymore. She was in the room. I don't remember how I got back to the bedroom. I only know I ended up huddled in the corner, wrapped in blankets like armor. I whispered every prayer I could remember from childhood. Eventually, somehow, I passed out. When I woke up, it was morning. The light still didn't work, but the mirror was back on the wall where it belonged. And on the glass, drawn in what looked like ash and blood, was a single sentence. You can't shut your eyes forever.